we can probably go ahead and get started. So welcome to all who have joined us. We would ask everyone to mute their mics so that way we can hear those presenting. We've designed these to try to set them up to be about 15-minute PD sessions at a clip. So if you have questions, we'll try to address those at the end. You can always put those in the chat. I will be monitoring the chat while the presentation is going on. Heidi and I will be doing that today for this one. Brian will be covering most of our content. So we will be monitoring the chat. We'll try to answer the questions that we can at the end, just so we don't get sidetracked. We're going to try to run through the presentation in a 15-minute process so that way we can address everyone's time. Now, this first session, which we're doing right now at 1:30, this is specifically about Macbooks. It is specifically about Quicktime. At 2 o'clock, we're going to be doing a similar topic, but it's going to be more iPad specific. So if you're here to hear about iPads, try to join us at 2 o'clock using the other link that we sent out. Now, the reason we're talking about QuickTime today is because it's pre-installed on the MacBook. We are not taking anything away from other apps such as Screencast-matic, Screencastify. They're both great tools. There are other tools out there as well. If I were in charge of developing a course that was like an online course, I would probably gravitate maybe towards some of those other tools because of some of the different options that you have with magnifying parts of the screen and some of the editing features you have with that. But more often than not, I usually gravitate toward QuickTime just because it's already there. It doesn't matter if I'm online or offline. And it comes in very handy for just making very quick tutorials. And sometimes I will have people email me questions, and I find as I'm typing the email back out, I realize, hey, it would be just so much easier to show them with a 30-second recording that would be to type out this description. So I find myself using a lot. So that's why we're using QuickTime today. And a couple other things I want to discuss real quickly before Brian shows some of the bells and whistles of QuickTime. If you're not someone who's already doing some recordings of yourself for your students, we highly encourage you to do that. We know a lot of teachers are already doing that, but some of the students just need to see your face for an opportunity, just because they haven't had that opportunity. Even some of those students you might not think want to see your face probably need to see your face every once in a while. So even if it's just a quick recording to say, hey, I'm here to help you, or here's an introduction to the topic, or here are some procedures I want you to go through, we really think that you will get a lot more information across to your students if you will do some face-to-face recording in addition to anything text you might send out. One of the common complaints we hear is that students aren't reading information. If you couple some of that text, if you couple that with some recording of that information, I can guarantee your students are going to do a better job of comprehending it and remembering some of it. I'm not saying you're going to get 100% buy-in or comprehension, but it will definitely increase. In terms of making the videos, one of the recommendations we gave, based off of research that we have done, is about 1 minute per grade level is what the attention span of the student is going to be. That's another reason why we do 15-minute PDs, because we realize the attention span of even adults is going to be limited to about 15 minutes. So we recommend about 1 minute per grade level. In terms of videos, if you have a big long procedure, we realize you might have to go over that, but that is just a recommendation that we give based off of research we've done. If there's something that you want to say, one of the things that I will do, this was not scripted out, I have notes that I'm covering, but if there's like a presentation I want to give over the introduction of a topic, a lot of times I will script it out in Microsoft Word, and then I'll just put it on my screen, and as I'm doing a voice recording, it looks like I'm looking at the camera, but I'm actually reading my script, and I'll try to make sure that I write that in a conversational tone, as opposed to something that I'm worried a lot about grammar. I'll put lots of ellipses in there, or hyphens, things to break up the text, and try to type it out more in how I would say it, as opposed to how I would want someone to read it. So that's another suggestion. And with the speed at which I read, I've actually done the study, and for me, 500 words is about 2 to 3 minutes of video recorded time. So that's just a rule of thumb that I use. If I'm trying to keep something 2 to 3 minutes, it's 500 words. If I want to go 5 minutes, then it's about 1,000 words. So again, they'll be determined based off how quickly you speak or however many other interjections you want to put in there. So those are some things I wanted to cover real quickly, and now I'm going to turn it over to Brian so he can show us some QuickTime stuff.
Thank you, Jody. So this is going to be pretty quick. It's going to be fast-paced because we're going to try to, like I said, adhere to the 15 minutes. Most of the time when you're going to go with QuickTime, it can be in your doc, or it also can be in the applications folder. For mine, it's in the doc, so I'm going to open it up. And what you're going to notice is at the top, where my cursor is, you can see that QuickTime's loaded. A lot of times people don't see that because they're assuming that the application will download like Microsoft Word, but it's just a small footprint. So I'm going to show you some of the things that we can do. If later on you need some additional help, the digital learning coaches will be glad to help you with that. The first thing I want to show you is a screen recording. So a screen recording opens up. You have the options, and a lot of kids don't know this, to actually choose your microphone. And if it defaults to none. So if you choose none, you're not going to get any volume. So go to internal. If you start the application and you're going to click that. It does have a built-in speaker, but I'm going to tell you it's really poor and it gives you some bad feedback. So I never choose that. So use that at your own discretion. So to get it started, I'm going to open it. And then you'll see up here there's a round circle. When I click it, it's going to turn white. And now I'm in the process of recording my screen. I can show you anything I want, demonstrate anything. When I am done, it displays like this. If I want to save it, go File, Save. If I want to delete it, I click on it and delete it. I'm going to go back to that and show you another feature that's pretty cool with it. If you go back to a screen recording, you choose, just like we have, this little thing right here is what we're going to do. We're going to actually just use part of our screen. I'm going to use my mouse to pick an area. And have you seen that area? You can see that it's covering this. After I hit start recording, it'll record everything that I'm saying. You finish up again up here at the button, and it has made a really small footprint for your students to be focused on. Again, you can file save from here. I'm going to close it and move on to the next one. So that is a screen recording, and that's, you can select different parts of it. The next piece will be a movie. Movies are pretty simple. If you see my screen, I'm going to click. I have an Apple TV, so it's picked up some of the Apple TV functions on here. If you don't have anything like that, you won't see anything. But to start the recording, you would just click recording, let it record. It's just using the camera out of the Macbook. Probably look a little bit better on an iPad. You'll see later. And when you're done, click it. Again, if you want to save it, file save as, or I'm just going to delete it. I want to show you, though, something you can do with both of these tools. You might see people who are doing a presentation and they have their self in one part of the screen, and then they're identifying things that they want the students to do. So to do that, we are going to, I call it presenter mode. I'm going to start out with a movie. But I take the corner and I make it smaller. I'm going to put it up here, move it over a little, click on it a few times so it doesn't get in your way. So now that I have the movie part put in, I want to do a screen capture. Now I want you to understand this piece right here is not recording. It is just sitting there as a camera, but it's not recording. You're gonna do the recording by going to New Screen Recording. Click it, select it at the top. As it turns white, you're going to be recording yourself talking, giving directions on everything you want to do, and giving some advice. Again, when you're done, you're going to click the white one. And I'll try to make that so you can see it. And then you can play it. As it turns white, you're going to be recording yourself talk. So again, then you can just go File, Save, and then save that and put it on some kind of application that you might want. Let me get rid of that. Okay, again, it's fast paced, so apologize for that. So that's kind of how you can use both the tools to get into presenter mode. I've got about 3 minutes left, so I want to hit how you upload this stuff to some Schoology. So if I pull Schoology up and you've created a video and you want to add it, you're going to add it through the app, this link right here. Add file. Schoology can take about a 512 meg document, and you would just attach from here. So you would attach this movie, open it, it downloads. When that becomes available, you can add it to your course. Get out of that. Another real useful tool you should use with this is a lot of times, for me, I've got some assignments where they're just too big. So I end up taking them into iMovie. So here's iMovie, and I'm gonna preload this. So I've made an introduction, I made a video, and you can just really just take it, and I'm just gonna drop my video in here and put it in the middle. So once you've created a video, you need to render it, you need to change it. A lot of people think once you've got this in iMovie that you're done, and it's really not true. Once it's in iMovie, it's a project. To get it to be a movie, I'm going to go up here. You can see up in the upper right-hand corner, and it's the Sharo. A lot of times you will want to use one of these products. Of course, this is email, and everybody knows what that is. Of course, iMovie, but we usually use File because on this particular one, you can see the application is taking up 23.7. But sometimes they're much larger, and you might need to adjust them to make them smaller. So watch this number change a little bit. So we got that right. We are going to make it a little higher, so the resolution, you can see it's impacted that. And we could go to an even higher one, which makes it even larger. And then from the next piece, you would select Next. At that point, it would start to render it, start making it an actual file that can be uploaded into Schoology. Again, I know it's been kind of a fast-paced PD. If you have any questions from any of us, please let us know. And I hope that you learned a little bit about presentation tools, in particular Quicktime.
Thank you, Ryan. I think Julie Bowling had asked about if the movies are compatible with Seesaw, and I believe Heidi addressed that question that yes, they are. But you can either probably upload them directly, or you can put them into a Google Drive and then share out a link. Brian showed how we can also take those movie files and put them into iMovie, which is something that we commonly do. It's typically how when we share something to YouTube, we typically do it in QuickTime, take it to iMovie. For those who don't want to take it into iMovie, if you're just doing something quick and rough, there are options within QuickTime to change the resolution. I had someone just yesterday contact me that had used QuickTime to make a video. It was too large to upload into Schoology, so I recommended that the recommendation I had. Let me just share my screen real quickly. Is if I'm in, let me get into QuickTime here. Here's a video that I've opened in QuickTime. You can go, once you have that video open, you can go to File, and you can go to Export As, and change the resolutions here. Typically, I think it puts, it's a resolution higher than 720p, but if you go to 720p, it usually will make the file a little bit smaller, but you are losing the resolution when you do that. But that is one way to get the file size a little smaller if you need it smaller. You can go down to 480p to get that file size much, much smaller, but once you go to 480p, it's a little bit more difficult to see on a MacBook. It might be a little bit more appropriate for a phone size. And there are also options within QuickTime to do some in editing. You can actually trim the front and the end, which I didn't know for a long time. That's one of those things that I used to whenever I messed up QuickTime recording. I always stopped it and started over again, and until I realized that you can actually trim out the front or the back end of that without taking it into iMovie. So again, we usually use iMovie for those things like Brian showed you, exporting it as a file. And then a lot of times we upload it to YouTube and then share it through Schoology, but those are just additional steps. But if you just want raw footage, something simple, jump into QuickTime, make the recording, and post it straight to Schoology if you'd like.